Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about my biggest disappointment, my daughter Sofia, who, despite all my guidance, will never amount to anything. My father raised his champagne glass to the 100 guests at his silver anniversary party, his words slicing through the elegant ballroom like a rusty blade. But the leather portfolio under my arm contained 3 patent certificates, a tech company acquisition letter worth $42 million, and the real reason he'd been promoted to CEO last year, all bearing my signature, not his. The crystal chandeliers seemed to dim as every head in the room swiveled toward me. My mother's hand flew to her pearl necklace, her face a mask of practiced embarrassment she perfected over 25 years of marriage. My younger brother Marcus shifted uncomfortably in his $1,000 suit, the one I'd bought him for his law school graduation, while my father stood at the podium, warming up for what he clearly thought would be his greatest performance yet. 26 years old, he continued, his voice booming through the microphone, and still playing with computers in her apartment, thinking she's some kind of entrepreneur. While her brother, he gestured toward Marcus with theatrical pride, is already a partner at Morrison and Associates. That's what real success looks like. The lie was so bold, so breathtaking in its audacity, that for a moment I wondered if I'd slipped into some parallel universe. Marcus wouldn't make partner for at least 5 more years, and we both knew it. But more importantly, those computers Dad mocked had just revolutionized supply chain automation for 3 Fortune 500 companies, including the one that employed him. I felt my phone vibrate, probably another congratulatory message about the acquisition announcement that would go public Monday morning. The irony of the timing wasn't lost on me. Here was Douglas Winters, VP of Operations at Nexus Industries, taking credit for innovations he couldn't even explain, while the actual inventor sat at table 12 like a shameful secret. Remember when she was 16? Dad was really rolling now, his audience of business associates and society friends hanging on every word. Locked herself in her room for weeks, typing away. I told her then, Sofia, the real world doesn't run on dreams and keyboards. But did she listen? My fingers tightened around the portfolio handle. He was talking about the summer I developed the algorithm that would later become the foundation of Nexus Flow. The very system his company had implemented last year, leading to a 47% increase in efficiency and his subsequent promotion to CEO. The system he presented to the board as his own vision for digital transformation. Aunt Patricia caught my eye from across the room, her expression a mixture of pity and confusion. She'd been there the day I tried to show Dad my first working prototype. He'd waved me away, saying he had real work to do. But that's what fathers are for, Dad continued, placing a hand over his heart in false humility. To love our children despite their failures. To keep hoping that one day they'll surprise us and actually contribute something meaningful to the world. That's when I stood up. The sound of my chair scraping against the marble floor cut through his monologue like a needle across a record. 100 pairs of eyes locked onto me as I walked toward the podium, my heels clicking with metronomic precision. Sofia, sit down, my mother hissed, but I kept walking. Dad's smile faltered slightly, but he recovered quickly. Ah, looks like my daughter has something to say. Probably wants to thank me for my patience and support over the years. I reached the podium and looked up at him, this man who had built his entire career on my innovations while simultaneously belittling me at every opportunity. Actually, Dad, I wanted to clarify something for your guests. He stepped aside with exaggerated courtesy, his expression radiating the kind of condescending amusement reserved for children attempting adult tasks. By all means, sweetheart, tell everyone about your little computer projects. I set my portfolio on the podium and turned to face the audience. Thank you. I know this is supposed to be about celebrating Mom and Dad's 25 years of marriage, and I promise to keep this brief. But since Dad brought up the subject of success and failure, I thought your guests deserved to hear the truth. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Dad's smile was frozen now, his eyes narrowing with warning. You see, I continued, opening the portfolio, Dad's right about one thing. I have spent the last 10 years playing with computers. Specifically, developing automation and optimization algorithms. Some of you might be familiar with my work, though you wouldn't know it was mine. I pulled out the first document, a patent certificate. This is patent US 567 for dynamic supply chain optimization using predictive analytics. Filed in 2019. Inventor, Sofia and Winters. You might recognize it as the core technology behind Nexus Flow. The murmur grew louder. Several executives from Nexus Industries were in attendance, and I saw recognition dawning on their faces. And this, I pulled out another certificate, is patent US 10,789,123 for real-time inventory management via machine learning. Also mine, also currently in use at Nexus Industries. Dad's face had gone from red to white. Sophia, this is neither the time nor. Oh, but it is, Dad, I cut him off, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. Because you just told all these people I'll never amount to anything. So I think they should know that your entire promotion to CEO was based on technology I created. The room went dead silent. I pulled out the acquisition letter, holding it up for everyone to see. This is from Quantum Dynamics, offering to acquire my company, Winters Tech Solutions, for $42 million. The deal closes Monday. I looked directly at my father. Turns out those little computer projects were worth something after all. Someone gasped. It might have been my mother. But here's the really interesting part. I continued, riding the wave of truth that had been building for years. Dad didn't just dismiss my work, he stole it. That presentation to the board last year, the one about revolutionizing Nexus through digital transformation, those were my slides, my code, my vision. I know because I still have the original files, timestamped and registered with the Copyright Office. Dad lunged for the microphone. This is ridiculous. She's having some kind of breakdown. Am I? I pulled out my phone and connected it to the ballroom's AV system, a feature I knew existed because I designed it during a consulting gig for the hotel. Let's look at the metadata, shall we? The huge screens on either side of the room lit up, displaying file properties. Creation date, March 15, 2019. Author, Sofia and Winters. Last modified by Douglas Winters, January 8, 2024, the day before his big presentation. You renamed the files, I said, scrolling through the evidence. But you forgot that the embedded code comments still have my name. Every single one. The silence in the room was deafening. I saw members of the Nexus board exchanging glances, their expressions shifting from confusion to alarm. Marcus stood up from his table. Sophia, please. Sit down, Marcus, I said, not unkindly. This isn't about you. Although if we're being honest, should we tell everyone who actually wrote your law school entrance essay? Or who's been making your student loan payments? He sat back down, his face burning. I turned back to the audience. I'm not here to humiliate my family. I'm here because I'm tired of being erased. Tired of creating things only to watch someone else take credit. Tired of being told I'm a failure by the very person who built his success on my work. You ungrateful. Dad started. Ungrateful? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. I gave you everything, Dad. Every breakthrough, every innovation, every late night of work. I handed it to you on a silver platter because I thought that's what family did. Support each other. But you took it all and then stood in rooms like this, telling people I was your biggest disappointment. I pulled out the final document from my portfolio. This is a cease and desist letter from my attorneys. As of Monday, when the acquisition is finalized, Quantum Dynamics will be pursuing legal action against anyone using my patented technology without proper licensing agreements, including Nexus Industries. The CEO of Nexus, Harold Morrison, stood up from table 3. Douglas, what is she talking about? Dad's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. For once, he had no words. Mr. Morrison, I addressed him directly. I have detailed documentation of every algorithm, every line of code, every innovation that your company has been using without my permission. My attorneys will be reaching out to discuss licensing fees and back payments. Or, if you prefer, we can discuss having your company properly acquire the technology from Quantum Dynamics after Monday. The business implications rippled through the room like dominoes falling. Without my technology, Nexus would lose its competitive edge. Stock prices would plummet. And the man they promoted to CEO based on his innovations would be exposed as a fraud. She's lying. Dad finally found his voice. This is all some elaborate. Stop. The voice came from an unexpected source. My mother. She stood up, her usually perfect posture slightly shaky. Just stop, Douglas. Please. Everyone turned to look at her. I've watched you do this for years, she continued, her voice gaining strength. Take her ideas, her work, her brilliance, and claim it as your own while telling her she was worthless. I said nothing because I was a coward. But not anymore. She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, Sofia. I should have defended you. Should have stood up for you. I failed you as a mother. Mom, I started, but she held up her hand. No, let me finish. She turned back to the crowd. My daughter is a genius. A literal genius. She tested off the charts as a child, skipped 2 grades, and graduated MIT at 19. Every success Douglas has had in the last decade came from her mind, not his. And instead of being proud, he was threatened. Dad's face had gone purple. Margaret, you don't know what you're. I know exactly what I'm saying, she shot back. I know about the offshore account where you've been hiding the consulting fees companies paid to Sofia, fees you intercepted and deposited yourself. I know about the NDAs you made her sign when she was too young to understand their implications. I know everything, Douglas. I've known for years. This revelation sent another shockwave through the room. Financial fraud on top of intellectual property theft? The society crowd loved nothing more than a scandal, and this was rapidly becoming the story of the decade. Mr. Morrison pulled out his phone, presumably to call his legal team. Other board members were doing the same. Dad's carefully constructed empire was crumbling in real time, broadcast on the very screens I'd used to display the evidence. You want to know the saddest part? I said, looking directly at my father. I would have given it all to you freely. The patents, the money, the credit, all of it. If you had just once, just one time, looked at me with pride instead of disdain. If you had said, well done, Sofia, instead of telling rooms full of people I was a disappointment. My voice cracked slightly, years of pain bleeding through. I didn't want your money or your connections or even your approval. I just wanted my father to see me, to acknowledge that I existed as more than a failure to be mocked at parties. Dad's shoulders sagged, the fight draining out of him as he realized the full scope of what was happening. His reputation, his career, his carefully maintained image, all of it was disintegrating. I built you an empire, I continued, and you gave me nothing but contempt in return. So yes, I'm taking it back. Every algorithm, every patent, every line of code. Not because I need the money, quantum dynamics has made sure I'll never need to worry about that again. But because I'm done being your ghostwriter, I'm done being erased. I closed the portfolio and picked it up. Happy anniversary, Mom and Dad. Consider this my gift, the truth, finally unwrapped for everyone to see. I walked away from the podium, the sound of my heels the only noise in the stunned silence. As I passed their table, Marcus reached out and caught my hand. Sofia, he whispered. I didn't know, I swear I didn't know the extent of it. I squeezed his hand gently. I know, he played us against each other just like he played everyone. But that ends now. My mother appeared at my side. Where will you go? I have a flight to San Francisco in 3 hours, I said. Quantum Dynamics wants me to head up their new AI division. Turns out when people know who actually created the technology, they want to work with that person. She nodded, tears still flowing. I'm proud of you. I should have said it years ago, but I'm saying it now. I'm so incredibly proud of you. We hugged, and for a moment, I was just a daughter being held by her mother. Then I straightened up, adjusted my dress, and walked toward the exit. Behind me, the room exploded into chaos. Phones rang. Arguments erupted. The Nexus board members surrounded my father, demanding explanations. The society photographers, who'd come to document an anniversary, found themselves with a much bigger story. As I reached the door, I turned back one last time. Dad was standing at the podium, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him, watching his entire world collapse. Our eyes met across the room, and for just a second, I saw something I'd never seen before. Recognition. Not of my success or my intelligence, but of what he'd thrown away in his need to be the only star in the sky. Then I left, walking out into the cool evening air and toward a future where I would never again let anyone dim my light to make themselves shine brighter. My phone buzzed with messages as news of the confrontation spread. Job offers, interview requests, colleagues reaching out in support. But I ignored them all except one. A text from an unknown number. This is Harold Morrison. I apologize for my company's involvement in this situation. Would you be willing to meet next week to discuss a proper licensing agreement? We value innovation and integrity, and clearly we failed on both counts. I'd like to make this right. I smiled, a real smile for the first time in years. Making it right. What a novel concept. As my car pulled away from the hotel, I thought about my father's words. You'll never amount to anything. $42 million. Multiple patents. A revolution in supply chain technology. A new position at one of the most innovative companies in the world. And finally, the freedom to be myself without apology or erasure. Turns out I amounted to something after all. I amounted to exactly who I was meant to be, not in spite of his lack of faith, but because I finally stopped seeking it. The biggest success of my life wasn't the money or the recognition. It was standing up at that podium and refusing to be invisible any longer. It was choosing truth over comfort, authenticity over approval. And as San Francisco beckoned with its promises of new beginnings and honest partnerships, I knew one thing for certain. I would never again let anyone else write my story. My story was mine to tell, and I was just getting started.